Hello everyone, this is Mugundan Raghavan, and in this video we are going to see one of the main metric called faithfulness. Before understanding the faithfulness, we will try to understand other things. First of all, in order to measure the faithfulness, you need the judging LLM, which means it comes under the category of LLM metric. You need to have another LLM to measure this metric. And also, we need to give three inputs to this judging LLM, which are input, response, and context. Input, obviously, it is the prompt from the user. Response is the output from the original LLM. And context is the giving the contextual input to the LLM so that it provides the response according to that. Now, we have three inputs: input, response, and context. With this, faithfulness will be measured by the judging LLM, whether given answer is based fully on the provided context or not. With this theory point, we will try to understand the practical. As we discussed, in order to have the judging LLM, you may have the OpenAI LLM API key with you. If not, you can start using the GROQ. In GROQ, you can create the account by using your Gmail account. Then once you have the account, you will be having the playground. In playground, you can practice something, or you can see all available open source LLM tools. And also you can go to the API keys in order to create your own API key. Once you have the API key, you can use this open source LLM as your evaluating LLM. With this, we will try to understand the code. First one, we are creating the instance of ChatGroq by using one of the free model available from the GROQ. I am using the deepseek. Along with that, I am providing the temperature and max retries. Since I have set up my system environment for GROQ API key with my key, I don't need to provide the key here. However, you can use the same way, or you can provide the hard-coded value here. If you are providing the hard-coded value here, make sure you are not sharing your key to others. Now, once we have the LLM, in order to use the RAGA frameworks, you need to wrap up with the another class called LangchainLLMWrapper. In case if you are using the OpenAI or Azure or AWS, you don't need this. In case if you are using the GROQ as me, then you need to have this wrapper called LangchainLLMWrapper. Whatever the LLM we have created, we need to pass in this so that we will be creating the evaluator LLM. So now we have the evaluator LLM or judging LLM. Once we have this, we will be creating the sample, which will include three inputs, which are user input, response, and retrieved context. Once we have this, we can just run our scorer. Let's see the user input. When was the first bowl happen? And based on the retrieved context, it happened on 15/1967 January, right? The same thing given as a response also. Now, as per the faithfulness definition, the response is based on the retrieved context or not. This is what it will be checking from the evaluator LLM. In order to create the scorer, you will be creating the instance of faithfulness. Obviously, it is the LLM metric, so that you will be giving the evaluator LLM, which we created already. Then the scorer is ready. And when you want to get the score, you will be calling the method called SingleTurnScore. And you will be providing the same sample. Since we all know that this is the API call, we cannot predict the output time or the response time. So that's why it became a asynchronous operation. And that's why we are also creating the main method as a async function and also await statement. So based on the time it takes, it will be waiting for that. Then it will be giving the faith score. Once we have the faith score, we are printing inside the console sample user input, response, and the retrieved context, and the faithfulness score. So with this, we are running this entire function with asyncio or async input output dot run and the main method. So let's run and see the output. Here you can see the user input is when was the first Super Bowl, and the answer is January 15, 1967. It is totally based on the retrieved context, nothing wrong. So that's the reason the score is 1.0. That means that obviously 1 is the highermost, which means that it has some maximum faithfulness. Whereas 0 means it is totally hallucinating. That means that your output or response from your original LLM is totally wrong, or it is hallucinating. Now, we clearly understood the response is compared with the retrieved context. However, I will just make a little twist here. For example, the first Super Bowl was held at the Los Angeles Memorial location. So let's try to execute. Here you can see the output. When was the first Super Bowl? The answer from the original LLM is the Super Bowl was held at the Los Angeles Memorial. It is totally based on the retrieved context because the location is exactly as in the retrieved context. As per the definition of the faithfulness, the response is totally considering from the retrieved context. Maybe that's the reason even you can see the faithfulness score is 1 again. However, this is where we need to understand, as per the definition, it is only considering the retrieved context. But if you see the question, when was the first Super Bowl? Even though the response is based on the retrieved context, it is not relevant to the question itself. Question was asking when, whereas it is giving the location where. So that's the reason the next metric from our next video will be considering the answer relevancy. But as part of the faithfulness, yes, it is correct. But in case if the LLM is hallucinating, then whether it is finding or not, we will try to understand. Let's say it is trying to hallucinate so that the response is the first test cricket match happened in England in 1990. But the question was, when was the first Super Bowl? And retrieved context has the clear information and the context for that. If at all, if the LLM is hallucinating, let's see whether the faithfulness comes 0 or not. Here you can clearly see the faithfulness is 0 because it is hallucinating. It is not at all considering the retrieved context. We totally understand faithfulness considering the response, whether it is coming from the retrieved context or not. If it is coming from the retrieved context, even though it is not relevant to the question, it will be giving the faithfulness as 1, which is maximum. Whenever it gives the hallucinated answer, which is not at all relevant to the retrieved context, then the faithfulness score will be 0. From this, we clearly understand what is faithfulness and how to create the evaluator LLM from the GROQ website. And also we have seen the 3 major inputs, which are user input, response, and retrieved context in order to measure the faithfulness. And this is all about this video. And always be a rainbow in others' cloud.